everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rihanna, and here on Reread It, I review, discuss, and summarize books that I have read to let you guys know if it's worth a reread or not. Today's book is going to be Iodine, Why You Need It, Why You Can't Live Without It by Dr. David Brownstein. I actually discovered this book while reading The Iodine Crisis by Lynn Farrell, which I have also done a review for on my channel, so if you haven't watched that one yet, go ahead and check that one out as well. It actually turns out that a lot of the information that was in the book The Iodine Crisis originated from this book here and from Dr. David Brownstein's work. He is known as a pioneer in iodine medicine along with his partner Dr. Guy Abraham. They have done a ton of research, and a lot of that research can be found in this specific book. With that being said, let's get into the summary. The book begins with Dr. David Brownstein going over how exactly iodine works in the body. He gets really in detail on the processes that our body does to break down the iodine once it's ingested and how it's used throughout the different areas in our body. Particularly, the iodine is used in our glandular system, which consists of the thyroid, ovaries, breasts, and even the brain. They have discovered that in the brain, the iodine concentrates in a part that is actually linked with Parkinson's disease. So this could be a step into finding out what causes Parkinson's disease and maybe even preventative measures for it. Iodine is also known to be directly linked to brain development in children, and a deficiency in iodine has been linked to ADHD in children. Dr. Brownstein goes into a lot of detail and research on the recommended daily allowance of iodine according to the governing agencies. I'll be sure to include a chart here that shows you what the recommended daily allowance for the United States are. However, it does not provide enough iodine for optimal function of the glandular, endocrine, and immune systems, which is why we see a lot of iodine deficiency related health issues in our country. Dr. Brownstein shows us a few different options for getting iodine into our systems. One, of course, is through our diet. Another is one that I personally use, which I've also talked about in a couple of my videos, and that is the Lugol's iodine solution. And you can also find that in a different form called iodoral tablets. He explains that one of the most important things is to avoid contact with toxic halogens such as bromide, which compete with iodine for the receptors in our body. The things that he lists in the book that contain bromide are many pharmaceutical drugs, pastries, breads, pastas, some carbonated drinks, and antibacterial agents for pools and hot tubs, as well as many other things. Now you may be asking yourself, what even is bromide? This was something that I was asking myself when I was reading this book and the Iodine Crisis, because this was a word that I had never heard of prior to reading these books. Bromide is a halogen similar to iodine, but it is toxic to the body even in small amounts. Iodine and bromide are very similar in weight and size, so they compete in our body for the same receptors. When bromide takes over the receptors, we tend to see a lot of health issues, especially in the thyroid. Bromide intoxication, or having too much bromide in the body, has been shown to cause delirium, schizophrenia, hallucinations, and psychomotor retardation. It can also cause severe depression, headaches, and irritability. When our body has insufficient iodine levels, the toxicity of bromide is actually increased significantly. Due to our increased exposure to these toxic halogens like bromide, chloride, and fluoride, our need for iodine intake has actually gone up from what it used to be to prevent and overcome bromide toxicity. The chapters in this book are well titled to show exactly what they cover, and each chapter provides a ton of information on the subject. Just to name a few of the chapters, we have Chapter 4, which is Iodine and the Thyroid Gland. Chapter 8, Iodine, Breast Cancer, and Fibrocystic Breast Disease. Chapter 10, Children, ADHD, Autism, and Iodine. And Chapter 13, Iodine Dosage Guidelines. There are a total of 16 chapters in this book, and I found that pretty much every question I had was answered somewhere within this book. If you have a specific question, please be sure to leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you with an answer as soon as I can. Now that we've discussed the overview of the book, let's go ahead and get into my favorite part about this book. My favorite part of this book would just be the amount of knowledge it provided. This book is one that you can reference back to at any time and just quickly search for an answer because it is so well organized and there is just so much information within each chapter. I believe that Dr. David Brownstein also provided a great amount of research and data that we can go ahead and reference back to or even look up ourselves, and they also relate and show us how iodine deficiency is related to certain health issues. For example, he provides a lot of studies, charts, and graphs on research that has been done and how certain populations and animals are affected when iodine is lacking versus when it is sufficiently present in the body. I also like that he provided a question and answer section in the final chapters of the book because it's a great quick reference guide if you just have a quick question that you're looking for an answer to. Okay, so as always, I've picked out a few parts from the book that I'd like to read to you guys ahead of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and read them off my laptop here to you. Approximately 1.5 billion people, about 1/3 of the Earth's population, live in an area of iodine deficiency, as defined by the World Health Organization. Iodine deficiency disorder can result in mental retardation, goiter, increased child and infant mortality, infertility, and socioeconomic decline. Iodine deficiency disorder is the most common preventable form of mental retardation known. Page 25. I had already touched on this topic a little bit in my iodine crisis book review, but he goes really in depth on this book about the impacts of iodine deficiency in children, and especially in their mental development. He has even dedicated an entire chapter to that subject, but this was just a quick thing that he touched on towards the very beginning of the book. Next we have page 153. Iodine has many anti-cancer properties. Cancer cells, unlike normal cells, do not have a normal life cycle. They just keep dividing over and over. Normal cells have a life cycle in a timed cellular death, which is known as apoptosis. Iodine has been shown to induce apoptosis in breast and thyroid cancer cells. Again, he has a great section in this book that is dedicated specifically to iodine deficiency and breast disorders such as fibrocystic breast disease and breast cancer, and this was from that chapter actually. Now he goes much further in depth on these topics. This was just a quick section from that chapter, but as you can see there is a direct link to iodine preventing the cancer cells in the breast and thyroid glands. Okay, next we have fluoride was first reported to cause thyroid problems in 1854 when it was found to be a cause of goiter in dogs. Research has shown that fluoride is much more toxic to the body when there is an iodine deficiency. This concept was illustrated in a study of 288 mice where the mice were fed a diet with varying amounts of iodine and fluoride. The researchers found that the incidence of goiter rose with the increasing intake of fluoride in a low iodine diet. Page 224. So this is just one example of the many studies he shows throughout the book. But as you can see, he provides you a great deal of information. This is just a quick snippet of the story that he shared. And just in that section alone, he provided you with 2 different studies that were done to show the difference between the benefits of iodine and the negative effects of the fluoride. Overall, I feel that this was a really great book. I would give it a 9 out of 10 just because I felt in some parts the information was a little bit repetitive. I do know that Dr. Brownstein has several books relating to different health topics, and this is just one of them. However, I do plan to read some of his other ones in the future based on just how much I learned from this one book. I would definitely reread this book again, and I highly recommend it to anybody that is interested in learning more about iodine. I really hope you enjoyed this book review. Please let me know your opinions on this book if you've read it. And as always, if you have any book recommendations for me, please be sure to leave those in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!